Hi YouTube, happy Tuesday. This is Sandy here, and I'm here today to talk about something that is one of my favorite topics in the world, travel. I absolutely love to travel, and I usually try to take one nice vacation every year. I also am very blessed to have a job where I travel, so I have the opportunity to take quite a few trips in a year's time in some cases. So what I want to share with you is just some tips to make travel affordable. I am asked a lot of times by my friends, how do you travel so much? I mean, how are you doing this? So I just want to share some of the things that I've found that make travel more affordable. So the first thing that I want to share is if you use a debit card or a credit card in your everyday life, I would recommend that it be a airline credit card. So United, American, all of the major airlines have credit cards that gives you miles for or points on your card for every dollar that you spend with them. So while you're making your everyday purchases, even if you're not going to run a balance, and I definitely don't recommend that you run a balance, but use the credit card just to get the points or the miles and then just pay it off, each month so that you don't have a balance on there, but at least you're getting those airline miles and those miles add up. You're able to take trips with those miles. Another thing is that most of those credit card companies, when you sign up, they're offering like 40,000 miles or 50,000 miles right off the bat just for taking their card. And that is enough miles in itself, in some cases, to take a very nice trip. Um, I recently went to Panama and it was 40,000 miles to take that trip. So, if you got one of these deals and there were no restrictions for international travel, you would be able to take, a trip abroad using those miles. Sometimes they will have restrictions and say that they have to be domestic, but still, I mean, it's a way to get a trip with free airfare, basically. So that's one thing that I definitely recommend is that you have that card so that you can use it, especially for big purchases where you can just really get a lot of miles at one time. So that's one tip that I have. Another tip is I never use a travel agent. Travel agents are going to charge additional money. That's how they get paid in some cases. In some cases, they're getting a free trip. But nevertheless, I don't need to use that and have additional fees added. So what I do is I go on the internet, go directly to the airlines, you look for dates. If I'm using airline miles, then I'll go in sometimes and I kind of back into my vacation spot sometimes. So I don't go in and say, okay, I'm going here. I'll say, okay, I have this number of miles and I want to go on a trip and I want to use these miles. So I'll just keep playing around with it till I find something. That's how I ended up going to Panama. Just kind of playing around and say, okay, where can I go with 40,000 miles? Boom, there it is. So that's one way to do it. Or, you can just target the place that you know that you want to go and just keep checking because it changes different times of the year, and different dates even. Sometimes you can say, okay, if I leave on a Tuesday and return on the following Tuesday, it might be 50,000 miles, but if you leave on a Wednesday and come back the following Wednesday, I mean, it could be a total different amount of miles. So play around with the dates, have flexible dates when you are looking for your trip because you can definitely save money that way. As far as the travel agent, so I don't use a travel agent. I book my flights directly. I also book my accommodations, and most times I kind of steer away from traditional hotels when I'm traveling, especially if it's personal travel. So I will go to sites like booking.com. That's like my favorite one. They have very, very nice places. They do book hotels also, but they also have apartments. And that's what I really like if I'm traveling for vacation. Um, those are good. It's good to have an apartment because you're able to kind of stock up in the apartment on certain things like some food items if you want to do a breakfast in your hotel or dinner in your hotel or in your apartment. I'm sorry, as opposed to going out for 3 meals a day for your entire trip. You can do that. Or, if you want to have a bottle of wine in your apartment or something like that, you can do that. You have your fridge, you have your stove, and all those types of things. So it's more convenient that way. Also, if you're traveling and you're using an apartment and you're traveling with others, you have more of a common space where you can kind of congregate in the evenings after you've done your outings during the day or sightseeing or what have you. Come back and you have a place where you can kind of congregate and enjoy, your time together. So I really like the option of going with an apartment. They are also most often cheaper, much cheaper than a hotel. So a very good option there. Another good one is Airbnb. Again, it's an option where you can rent apartments or you can rent homes with Airbnb. And in some cases, you can rent a room. I've never done that, but that is another way that you can definitely save money. So definitely look for non-traditional hotels and look for, apartment options, things like that, where you can save money that way. Currency. So I don't like to change my currency once I arrive in a foreign country if I'm doing international travel. So I always do that at my bank before I leave. I just go onto my bank's website, order my currency, and within a day or so, they'll call me and say that the currency is in. So I like to do it that way. That way I know that I'm getting a fair rate. Sometimes if you wait until you get to the country, they are adding additional fees on there and you may not get the best rate. So I want to make sure that my dollar is going as far as possible. Also related to currency, it is also good if you're not tied to one place and you want to take an international trip is to look at how strong our dollar is, because there are times where the dollar might be stronger someplace as opposed to another place that you may have been targeting. So I have actually selected vacation spots based on what the exchange rate is and saying, hey, if I go here, my dollar will go further. And so this is going to be a cheaper trip for me. So that's something else that I would definitely share with you to try that as well. When you travel abroad, take transportation. Taxis are very, very expensive. In a lot of countries, the taxi drivers will drive you all over the city just to get additional money, especially if they know that you're a tourist. So I try to stay away from taxis unless it's an emergency. I will get on a subway. I will take the public transportation. It is cheaper in most cases. You can also get like a week pass or a 2 week pass, depending on how long you're going to be there, which definitely comes out cheaper. Also, Uber. Uber is all over the world, and so that's another option as well. Works very well. The only thing with Uber is obviously you have to be connected to the internet in order to use the app. So that's a thing to consider, but definitely a good option and much cheaper than the traditional taxis. If you're traveling abroad and say you're going to Europe where, the countries are very small and very close together, I like to look for passes within the international train. So Rail Europe, Thales, they have passes where you're able to travel into multiple countries within a certain amount of time for a set price. So that's another option that is very, very helpful to get around once you go to Europe. Because you wouldn't want to go to Europe and just go to one place because they're so close together. It's very easy to get around. So you can do that and possibly see 2, maybe even 3 countries within a week's time, just depending on how long you're going to be there. So these are just some tips that I found very, very helpful and ways that I've saved money with my trips. So I hope that you will find this helpful. If you have any questions or comments or different things that you've done to save money on your travel, please share below in the comments. And I would love to hear from you. I love to travel. I love to hear from fellow travelers. So I would love to have an exchange with you. Also, I ask that you not only comment, but also subscribe to our channel if you're not currently subscribed. We create a video every day or two, just sharing everyday life and some of our experiences with you. Those of you that are subscribed or that are watching our channels regularly, we thank you. We ask that you share it with your family and friends. We would love to have them aboard for our new YouTube journey as well. So thank you all for watching. Please come back again tomorrow and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.